Hi, I'm Alec. And I don't know about you, but whenever I go to a library, I head straight to the comics section. There's just something so raw and impactful about them that has made me seek them out anywhere I can. So, I decided to write and illustrate a comic short story. These are some of the comics that I've got on my shelf, and these are the two main apps that I read webcomics with. They're really good. These are some examples of well thought out comic layouts that I got from a webcomic I like that's called Long Way Home. Many of a comic artist's skills relate to clear and impactful visual storytelling, from the composition of the pages to the color scheme to what happens between the gutter spaces. I wanted to learn how to effectively tell a story through both text and visuals. So I researched some of the main elements that make a comic story memorable. For my infographic, I decided to write about characters, the emotional impact of a comic's pacing, and its visuals. The two most important elements that make or break a comic would be pacing and characters. Pacing basically represents the flow and the passage of time in a comic. It helps you know how long or how short a scene is, and helps you establish tension. The panel layout and gutter spaces are very important to the pacing, since they basically guide the reader's eye around the comic. The characters and setting are also very important because they're basically what drives the story forward. So, the first step in my process was to start brainstorming. Making a story from scratch is always challenging, and the time restraint limited my options. So instead of creating characters or a creative setting, I decided to do a smaller project. I had a lot of ideas for the comic, but I decided to stick with uncertainty and change as the main themes. So after brainstorming, I decided to sketch out some basic layouts of the first few pages. I did this on my sketchbook, and I would later finalize the sketches in Photoshop. Here is basically all the layers that I had. For each page, I made a new folder, and each folder had the sketch, the lines, the colors, etc. And I would say that this was the most helpful part of the process, because it really made me think about how the layout and how the panels really told the story, and how I wanted to guide the reader's eyes throughout the panels. So then I went to the line art stage. Then I added some text using Photoshop. And finally, I added some colors. I had to really think about the lighting and what mood I wanted it to have. In the end, I decided to go with mainly teal and red to signify conflict and frustration. And for some reason, I just always feels like using colored line art instead of plain black adds some more character and ties all the colors back together. I also made a GIF of the final process. So at the end, I ended up having 20 pages. I could only line the first two, and then the rest were kind of refined sketches, simply because I wouldn't have the time to really line everything carefully. So I just decided to keep the 20 pages instead of reducing the story, so it still had the right pacing and feeling. But basically, I'm not going to show you the entirety of the comic right now. I would advise you to just check the PDF that I uploaded. It'll be a much better reading experience than actually staring at this presentation. This project really helped me think about how text and visuals can be used to tell a story, and I hope to one day create stories that will make others as excited as I get every time I open a new comic book. Thank you so much for watching me basically rant about comics for 4 minutes straight. I hope you'll have an amazing day.